Hey everyone, I'm here for another video to talk about what a assistant physician is and how I come to find out about an assistant physician and what it took for me to become one. Again, I'm going to try to make this video very brief and to the point. So when I was in medical school, starting my step 1 exam, I've heard rumors about the assistant physician program in Missouri and that it was either on its way to being approved or was already approved. I'm not sure, I can't remember, but I just remember it was in the early stages. And at the time, I knew that you needed to pass step 3. I was still on my step 1 journey, so I had time to think about it. And it was just something that I knew, and that was it. I didn't really think twice about it. So I finish, my step 1, my step 2, CS, CK. I was already done with med school. I finished my rotations. And then I went to a conference in Kansas City, and they have it annually. And there were so many medical students there. So I went there. I personally didn't have a positive experience there. There was, all the residency programs were there trying to do recruitment. And I just felt like if you were a Caribbean student or an IMG, you got the end of the stick. I mean, there were so many different booths, and once they figured out that you were a Caribbean student or IMG, not all of them, but a good amount of the programs kind of just shut you off. And if it happens 1 or 2 times, it's all right, but it just kept happening, and so it was really discouraging. I was really sad, and I wanted to give up, honestly. I didn't want to attend it anymore. But after speaking to my family, and my husband, they really helped me to bring up my spirits again, and I tried it again. It was for 3 days. Anyways, the third day I was done. I was like, I never want to come here again. I was heartbroken, and I was already at the far back of the booth because I'd gone through most of the residency program. And then I saw this woman, and she was an East African woman. She ended up finding out she was from Somalia, and she was a DO, OB-GYN DO, who started like her own business for like coaching other med students or residents who, or not residents, but med students, or even maybe even residents, like a career coach. And she saw me, and she knew what was going through my mind, and she was like, just come here. And she gave me a big hug. I don't know, she was an angel for me that night. And I told her what I'd gone through, and she was like, so many people felt the same way. So she was like, so we talked and all that, and she was like, I'm gonna help you in any way I can. And then she was like, I just want you to do one thing for me. Just promise me you're gonna do this one thing before you leave. And I said, yeah, sure. What's up? And she was like, I want you to go to one more booth. I was like, oh, hell no. That ain't happening. But she was like, no, please just go to this one booth. I promise you, just listen to me. And I was literally like, no, I'm not. I'm not going to put myself through that again. I'm done. I'm out. I really appreciate your help, but I just can't. But she really was really just pushing me, and her husband was there. He was also very supportive. He wasn't even in medicine, but he went through her journey. Anyways, so she was like, please, I'm just begging you, just please go there to this booth. I'm going to tell you where it's at. She told me where it's at, and I want to meet you. I want you to meet this one person, and her name is X, Y, and Z. I said, okay, I'm going to go. And she's like, I'm watching you. And so I go, and I go to this booth, And here I see, a diverse area where there's so many different. Um, I found out they were med school graduates, and then there was this woman sitting down, and I was like, "Hey, so and so told me to come over here," and she was like, "Oh, okay. So, are you interested in this?" And I was like, "What is this?" And she's like, "This is the assistant physician program." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, I've heard of it, but I just thought, I don't meet the eligibility criteria." And she was like, "Why would you say that?" And I was like, "Well, I'm still taking my step 3 and I haven't passed my step 3." And she's like, "You don't need step 3." And I'm like, skirt, like, what? And she was like, "Yeah, you don't need step 3. I guess that was an old law, and as long as you pass all your boards and you're a fresh grad," and I met all the other criteria basically. So she was like, "Yeah," and then she was telling me her journey, and her journey seemed horrible and horrific, and she went through a lot herself, even becoming an assistant physician. And she's like, "Yeah, we have it here in Missouri, and we're starting to pass it in other states, but right now it's really going off in Missouri. It's really hard. um I was working all these other side jobs, even Ubering." And I was like, "Oh, I hear you. I get it." So yeah, that was the last booth, and I left. And I presented the whole idea to my husband, and he was like, "Okay, well, let's just focus on your step 3 and applying again, and then we could revisit it." And I don't know why, like, I just was like, "No, I'm not gonna do it." Like, it sounded impossible, another struggle. I already just been going through a lot already, and I just can't see myself going through this again. Um, so I took my step 3 and I didn't pass. I failed by a few points, and I started looking for jobs in the area because I was like, it doesn't make sense. I go all the way to Missouri. My husband already has a job here in the state I was at, and paying 2 rents, and just everything just seemed like a lot. And I was like, I'm not gonna put myself in more debt. I have U.S. debt, school debt. So I started like looking for jobs, brushed up on my resume, and that's a whole different story of like what I went through, like trying to find a job. Um, and I went on interviews, and it was like for different things, research. It was different things, other things you could do with your medical degree, which I can make a separate video about if you like. And I like randomly one day it was like 4 o'clock in the morning. I went on Facebook. I was like, this is not working out. Like, I gotta figure out what to do. And I just couldn't sleep. And I randomly found someone, literally randomly found someone, um, on Facebook. And I posted something. She posted a reply. And then we just started chatting, and ended up being a doctor in my area. And was like, "Yeah, if you want, you could um, follow me, like basically like an observership." So I was like, "Okay," and we ended up doing that. And she's actually my mentor right now. She's been my mentor for over 2 years now, um, and she's someone that I'm very close with and I love, honestly. But yeah, I started following her and doing an observership with her, and she brought it up again, the assistant physician, because she apparently was working in Missouri before, like somewhere in Kansas City. So she was like, "Why don't you do this?" And I'm like, "No, it's impossible." She's like, "No, it is possible. It's hard, but it's possible. And I don't think you going through the research route right now is a good option." And I had to weigh my pros and cons, and I just felt, I don't know why, I was just headstrong on research. But she was like, "No, I think doing clinical experience is much better for you." And I was just scared. I was like, I'm gonna have autonomy like over my patients. I haven't done a residency training, and she's like, well, there are PAs and NPs that do it. Like, why can't you do it? And you have your MD, you've been in school for this amount of years and all that. And I was like, it was so frightening to me. And going to Missouri also, because I'm from the East Coast, it was just a lot. But I made the journey there, and I can make a separate video on how I got a job and what I went through to get a job and my experience in Missouri. But I just wanted to briefly talk about how I found out about the assistant physician program. So like I said, we have one in Missouri. You can get your license in Missouri, and there are other states in the United States where you could become an assistant physician. It's a really great avenue if you want to improve your clinical experience, make some money, and apply for residency. So thank you for listening.